Good afternoon, Carol Hanson. Julie Grimes here. Nice to see you on this hot afternoon. So my name's Julie Grimes. I want to talk to my audience today about the situation in recruitment and loss of jobs, furloughed, people in between jobs, and how we can help them. So my company is Jaguar White Recruitment, and I do specialise in office and operational support staff across Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. But right now I'm looking to bring some inspiring female business ladies, entrepreneurs, to the table over the next 2 weeks to really talk about how the different areas we can help people at the moment. It's a obviously really uncertain time, and I know some great people that I think can benefit people out there at the moment. So what I'm going to do is talk to Carol Hanson, who's a conscious wardrobe stylist and amazing expertise, and she's going to show us some amazing tips on how we can go for that interview, feel confident. I'm not going to give too much away because Carol's the expert. So Carol, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
Thanks, Julie, and thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this. It must be a very difficult time at the moment for so many people who are facing the possibility of being made redundant and having to look for a job in what's going to be a very competitive jobs market. So my name's Carol Hanson. I inspire women who have a wardrobe full of clothes but nothing to wear. I help them to look and feel fabulous every time they get dressed. I help them to discover who they are, how they want to express themselves, how to feel confident, because I believe that we all have amazing, unique bodies and we just need to show that off. And I do it in a conscious way because I'm very aligned to the fact that the fashion industry is a big pollutant and the second biggest polluting industry in the world. And so I don't take people shopping other than in their own wardrobes, and I help them to make the most of their own wardrobe choices.
That's great, Carol. Well, I'd like to go shopping with you, have a nice lunch and a glass of wine. We'll have to do that soon when we're allowed. So the top tips for interview dress, once we get the interviews back face to face, albeit over video. So what are your top tips?
Okay, so my top tips, yes, we are going to be doing an awful lot of interviews over video. The Gartner survey was looking at a survey of businesses that are recruiting and planning to recruit, and they are talking about 86% of interviews being done over video. So bottom line is you're still in an interview environment, and so therefore it is important to still maintain a good smart dress code. I would say that the fact that we're all working from home at the moment, I would say it's always a good idea to have a chat with the recruitment agency, if you're going through a recruitment agency, just to get a sense of, do they know what the dress code is going to be? And possibly, if you're going direct to a company, not through an agency, to talk to the HR department in advance. But I would always on the caution of being smart and not too casual, because there's nothing worse in terms of confidence levels if you don't feel smart enough. When you're coming for an interview. And if you're a bit overdressed, well, in a sense that is that's saying to the employer that I respect what meeting we're in at the moment, or prospective employer, and the fact that I've made a real effort. So I think it does give you some brownie points, if you like, in that sense.
I totally agree with that, Carol, because people ask me and they go to an interview, and I always say best interview clothes for the first day. It's actually respectful. Yes. And then on second interview, the hiring managers will say, I'd really like a second interview, but can you make sure that he dresses down for this one because it's Friday, or doesn't need to wear that, just if he just wears a shirt and tie, and then it's guided. But I think it's just so respectful to just go out there and say, I'm going for an interview, I'm going to look my best. So absolutely, from my experience, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you are, your main people that you're recruiting are back office staff, then you want to have that professional appearance as well, don't you? So I would Okay, in terms of specifics then for being interviewed on video,
Mm-hmm.
I would say there are 3 colours you need to be really careful about on video, and that is black, white, and red. Black. No, that's okay, and I'll tell you why in a second.
It's 100 degrees in here.
Yeah, I know you're very hot there at the moment, and I've got very dark navy on, which could be mistaken for black. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are wearing all over black, so if you're wearing a black long sleeve top or dress or suit jacket, and you've got, like I have, you've got a black seat or you've got a dark background, you're going to merge into that background.
Mm-hmm.
And an interview, you want to stand out. Similarly, if you wear white, white has an issue if you've got too much of an expanse of white. Most webcams, or if you're on a smart device, have got autofocus on them, and they're going to pick that white up, and that white will become really reflective. So again, it's going to take attention away from your face, and so people will be distracted by what you're wearing and won't be focusing on what you're saying so much.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Red is a difficult one with any camera, whether it's a video camera, auto settings, or just a standard camera, because red can bleed on camera. It's to do with the way that cameras work, and I'm not, I'm not someone who's technical in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But red can bleed if you've got the wrong. So if you've got a red jumper on, for example, or a red dress, it can actually look as though it's bleeding around the edges, and that will depend partly on the texture of the fabric as well. So if you've got something that is a bit textured, it's going to look as though it's too fluffy and just bleeding. And the other thing for the ladies is makeup. Do not wear bright red lipstick, because again, that will often bleed around your lips, and it'll make your lips look a lot bigger than they actually are. It's really not a good look. So those are the 3 things I would say about colours. I would also say keep colours plain, and have a contrast between your background and what you're wearing, so that you do stand out. If you think about on video, we're seeing down to somebody's chest height, and that's about 25% of most people in that sense. So 25% is 100% of what that prospective employer is seeing. So if you've got a big pattern on or something like that, it's going to look enormous on the screen. So again, be careful of that, and I would always say err on the side of caution, go for plain, not pattern. And there's another reason on that, is because patterns, particularly if they're small, and you can see this sometimes in very small plain appear to be plain shirts, but they've got a weave in them, will actually have what I call a pixelating effect, but it's actually a strobing effect. So it actually breaks the pattern up, and it looks as though it's moving. If you're on a screen, maybe you've got several people who are interviewing, you're in a sort of in a room with people, if you like, then the smaller that image is, the more it will look as though it's having this moving effect.
Yeah, it could be quite distracting.
Again, it's distracting. People will focus on something else, because it's a visual thing that's pulling their eyes in a direction.
Sure. And is there any advice, sorry Carol, is there any advice about sort of necklines, that kind of thing? Because I guess if you've only got this bit showing, I actually quite like a high neck. Today it's obviously hot, but generally do. Or collars, is there any guidance on that?
I would just say, obviously, don't go for anything that's too low necked, because you wouldn't do that anyway in terms of an interview, because again, it's not respectful, it's not professional, is it?
No.
From that point of view. Neckline, I would say also don't go for something that is very strappy, and I mean thin straps as opposed to
shoestring.
Yes, shoestring or spaghetti straps, exactly. Something that's wider strap like that is absolutely fine, particularly if it's a hot day at the end of the day, because most of us haven't got air conditioning in our houses. We're coping with what we can with breeze and maybe the odd fan. So I don't think anyone would exactly mark you down for not wearing sleeves but there are a lot of people that aren't actually comfortable being sleeveless anyway.
That's right.
And therefore, if you are, again, it's about what feels comfortable to you as well, because you need to feel comfortable I would always suggest going for natural fabrics as well, because again, they will be cooler than synthetic fabrics. And if you've got a fabric that is too shiny, then again, particularly if you've got a light on, you're using artificial light, then that can have a reflective effect on the camera too. And again, it's another distraction.
Sure. Okay. No, totally understand. I mean, if I was sort of going for an interview, I would be, I guess it's old school. I would want to put a jacket on over a top. Even if I was roasting, I'd probably want to put it on and then ask, would you mind if I take my jacket off? Just to show sort of that respect at the beginning. So yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing those colours. I'm wearing red, but
I'm not convinced with the jacket, and I agree with you if you're going into face-to-face interview, but I'm not sure that prospective employers are necessarily going to expect that if they're doing video interviews when they know that people are at home. If you want to go that extra stage, it's not, you know, you're not going to be in the wrong for doing it by any stroke of the imagination, but that may be a little bit too formal for someone. But I totally understand where you're coming from, because I wouldn't go to an interview if I wasn't wearing a jacket.
Okay. So around offers and what we're trying to do to help people in this situation at the moment, you may, as you know, I'm doing a sort of a CV review, a workshop tomorrow, and an interview coaching next Friday, which is all on my Facebook group. This is free to give something back, because I do feel for these people. If you get any offers on at the moment, if people feeling a bit lost and can come to you for that advice personally?
Absolutely. I'm offering a power hour with me at the moment called How to Look Awesome on Video Calls. And obviously we'll put the link in the notes as well with this. But basically it's an hour with me. You fill out a questionnaire before we do the consultation about what you want from it. If you're going for an interview, tell me a little bit about you and a little bit about the types of interview that you're looking for. If you've got a rough idea of what time of day you're going to be interviewed, and I appreciate if you're going for a lot of interviews, it may be, you know, different times of day.
Sure.
I also ask some questions about setup of your room and stuff like that, because it's always important to look at lighting and background too. And I ask you to have a selection of tops, 2 to 3 tops, or clothes that you're planning to wear for interview. And then we jump on a call together like this, and we look at what works for you. We look at your lighting, we look at your accessories, and I will take someone through, you know, getting ready for an interview from that perspective. So it's quite an intensive session with me, but it will hopefully give someone a lot more confidence about when they're being interviewed on camera, because if they've not been interviewed via video link before and they're not, you know, natural on camera or haven't used camera a lot, it's going to be quite daunting to a lot of people, I'm sure.
That's perfect. And would that take an hour, did you say?
Yeah, there's a pre-questionnaire that you need to send me first. You book in a slot with me, and then it's up to an hour. I mean, we may find that, you know, it's slightly different than that, but that's absolutely fine.
Perfect.
And the normal price for running that is £147, but at the moment, and I've got this offer on for the foreseeable future, it's just £69.
Oh, that's fantastic. And really, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there you can help. I know interviews at the moment are slowed down, but they're going to be coming back up as things are lifted. So it's good to get that opportunity with yourselves or anything else that, you know, my ladies entrepreneurs are talking about during this time, to get ready for what is going to be good times ahead. So is there anything else you'd like to add that we've missed, Carol?
No, the only thing I would just say, and again, it's something we'll cover on an individual basis, but is to be careful about accessories when you're on video as well. Be careful not to have beads that are either too small or too large. Be careful about whether they reflect back against the camera. But those are all things that we would discuss on an individual basis. Not to wear bracelets, because you'll inevitably hit the desk or something when you're on an interview in a camera, and there's nothing more annoying than listening to someone's bangles bouncing around or rattling. And again, with earrings, keep your earrings small. Don't go for big earrings that again may catch the light if you're using camera lights as well.
Sure.
So yeah, those are all the things I would say, but just be aware that it is possible to get it absolutely right, and to start feeling really confident about doing video interviews. And whether you're using a service like mine or not, what I would also say is practice, practice, practice. When you're doing something like this, get used to being on camera, and maybe have the help of someone as well, to do it, so that you're not just taking up the full screen to do it either, which is also important, because it's how you will appear on camera will appear slightly different if you're part of a screen as opposed to a full screen.
Oh, that's really helpful, Carol. I absolutely think you'd make a difference to anyone in that situation. And I'm really hoping I'm going to make a difference in terms of the coaching for the interview. So the words are going to flow, they're going to know all the right answers, they're going to look amazing. What more could they want? They just need to seal the deal. So yes, we're a dynamic duo, Carol. Eh?
We are indeed.
so thank you, Carol Hanson, for talking to me this afternoon. And we will put everything in the details so that you can under the post, so that we can get in touch with myself or Carol, and we'll be happy to talk to anyone at any time and come back to you. So we will close off from there. Thank you so much, Carol. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Julie.
Bye for now.
Bye.